Hey everyone, it's Aussie Dad and welcome to the STWAD is Gaming channel. We're continuing with the gameplay in Roblox, which is Resort Tycoon 2, and I'm showing different things that I'm unlocking along the way. I'm not going to go through too much of that today because we've got the rest of the Diary of a Wimpy Kid Hard Luck story, and this is the final part for it, which is also the other reason why I won't be rambling on too much. In the gameplay, you'll see I unlock stuff to do with the Volcano, the garage, which also has like a go-kart section to it, and I start playing the OBBY, which you can get to by boat. So that's it. I'm going to leave it to me reading the story. Alright, now we're at the story portion of the video, and we're going to continue on with Diary of a Wimpy Kid Hard Luck, and this will be part 7, and hopefully the final part, which will be good, so you can find out exactly what happens. Alright, so let's get started. But hidden away behind Mum's books, there were 5 stuffed monkeys that looked exactly like Tickles. So that means Mum must have gone out and bought a bunch of replacement monkeys right after I lost the original. Who even knows which version of Tickles is sitting on the shelf in my closet right now? In fact, now that I think about it, I remember a time when Mum had to wash Tickles because I spilled some chocolate milk on him. When she opened the washing machine door, it looked like a pillow had exploded in there. But that night after my bath, Tickles was back on my bed, good as new. So the one in my room could be a 4th or 5th generation for all I know. This also explains why Manny sleeps with 10 stuffed dinosaurs every night. He used to only have one dinosaur he called Rexy, but Manny must have discovered Mum's hidden stash of backups way before I did. I wanted to keep exploring Mum's closet to see what else I could find, but I heard Mum coming upstairs, so I had to slip out of there. Now that I know about Mum's parenting books, I should be able to keep one step ahead of my folks, and I can thank the Magic 8 Ball for that. Tuesday. Tonight I decided to see if any of the tricks in Mum's books would actually work on adults. I've been asking Mum and Dad for my own phone for forever, but Mum always says I already have one. She's talking about my ladybug phone though, and that's more like a preschool toy. So when me and Roderick were doing the dishes tonight, I took a crack at using reverse psychology on Mum and Dad. I didn't know what to expect, but I was shocked to see how fast it worked. Right after that, Mum came into my room and told me she'd decided to upgrade her phone and was giving her used one to me. But before she handed it over, she said there were some ground rules. She said I had to share the phone with Manny because he uses it to play educational games. She also said I'm not allowed to text any of my friends with it. Well, texting my friends isn't going to be a problem because at the moment I don't have any. Sharing with Manny is another issue. Manny likes to take pictures on Mum's phone, but I really don't need his pictures mixed in with mine. Still, I was pretty excited to get my hands on a decent phone. I spent some time personalising it with a new wallpaper and different ringtones, but in the middle of doing that, I got a text from Grandma that was obviously meant for Mum. The text says, "Can Frank come by this weekend with the boys to move the piano to the basement?" Mum says I wasn't allowed to text my friends, but she never said anything about relatives. And he responded, "Sorry, they're doing father-son stuff this weekend." After that was taken care of, I downloaded a bunch of games and started having some fun. But right in the middle of a game, Aunt Veronica called on video chat. "Why, hello, Gregory." The last thing I expected to see in the privacy of my bathroom was Aunt Veronica's face, so I think I can be excused for being a little surprised. I fished the phone out of the toilet and did everything I could to get it to turn on, but it was no use. I feel kinda bad for ruining it, but in my defense, I did try to warn Mum and Dad. I wasn't ready for that kind of responsibility. Wednesday. I've been getting tired of having to fear for my life whenever I walk by the Mingo Kids' woods, but I realise those guys only really pick on the after-school crowd. So I decided my smartest move was to just wait them out. That meant I needed to find something to kill time once school ended. There are a whole bunch of clubs for students, but I've never really been that interested until now. Math club, drama club, international relations club, poultry club. Today I stayed after school to see if there was something that would be a good fit. The board game club sounded like it might be pretty fun, but it's run by Mr. Nern, and I've already spent enough time with him for one school year. There's a pillow fighting club too, but one look inside the room where they meet told me it wasn't really my thing. There are some clubs that are really on the fringe, like the Free Hugs Club that just started up this spring. It was too hard to decide what to do, so I left it up to the Magic 8 Ball. I walked up to each door where the different clubs meet and gave the 8 Ball a shake to see which one I should join. I got a lot of no's and a few ask again laters, but I finally got a yes, definitely, when I was in front of the yearbook club door. I walked inside and the staff looked like it was in the middle of a meeting. I waited in the back until the meeting broke up, then walked up to the editor-in-chief, Betsy Buckles, and asked if I could join. She said the yearbook was almost finished, but they needed a few more photos for the candidates page. Then she said the school would pay $5 for every photo that ended up in the yearbook, and I was sold. If I can avoid the Mingo Kids and get paid, that's a win-win. Thursday. Today was my first day as the yearbook photographer, and it wasn't as easy as I thought it would be. I wanted to get good pictures, but to be honest, kids at my school don't really do anything that interesting. I was trying to do my job taking pictures while also being a full-time student, and that didn't make things any easier. I was hoping somebody would do something really dumb and I'd get a great picture of it, but for some reason, people were on their best behaviour today. One shot I was dying to get was Yama Law with his head stuck in a chair. There was a picture of him doing that in the last yearbook, and if he did it again, I wanted to be ready for it. I know a photographer isn't supposed to influence his subjects, but I tried to at least nudge Yama in the right direction. Whenever I see a picture in a yearbook or a magazine, there's always a little caption underneath. So when I turned in my photos at the end of the day, I wrote little blurbs so Betsy would know what she was looking at. So some of them were, I'm pretty sure Doug Parker's fly is open here. Morons on the bus. Trevor Wilson leaves the bathroom without washing his hands. Not again. Chad Middleton goes to the nurse's office with a bloody nose. Oh yeah, they're not. I don't think they're yearbook photos for some reason. But anyway, the great thing about pictures nowadays is that everything is digital. So if you don't like something about a photo you took, you can always tweak it on the computer. I took a couple of shots at lunch where somebody blinked, and those photos would have been useless if I wasn't able to edit them. I figured every yearbook needs a little humour, so I edited a few pictures to make them funnier. Hopefully, Mr. Blakely won't be too mad when he sees this. When he sees his. What was it? Synonym. A word that. Oh. It doesn't have the full thing on there. A word that exactly or word is what it pretty much says there. He's changed it to me not know how to spell, and a couple of the words are spelled incorrectly, of course, to try and make it humorous. Alright, so I realised being the yearbook photographer gives me a lot of power too. Alright, this could be a bad thing for Greg. Anyway, I can decide who gets in the yearbook and who doesn't. And if there's somebody who annoys me, I can get some revenge. I took a picture of Leon Feast after school, and when I played around with it on the computer, I shrunk his head by 75%. I seriously hope that one gets past the editors, and if it does, I give all the credit to the Magic 8 Ball. Monday, Over the weekend I got a chance to go back into Mum's closet and I found my old body blankie behind her winter boots. I couldn't believe it! I've been looking for that thing for the past few months and it was in Mum's closet all along. I got the body blankie as a Christmas gift last year from Mum and Dad. When I looked at the box, I have to admit I wasn't too thrilled about it. That changed the minute I put it on. Let me just say for the record that whoever invented the body blankie is a genius. You know when you're watching TV with a blanket wrapped around you and you want to grab your drink or the remote control, so you have to take the whole thing off to free up your hands? Well, the body blankie solves all that. It's like a regular blanket, but with sleeves that have mittens at the end, so you can grab stuff without ever exposing your skin to the cold air. The body blankie is made of flannel, so having it on is like being in bed all the time. Roderick got a body blankie too, and I think he liked his even more than I liked mine. In fact, after Roderick put his on for the first time, he didn't take it off for something like 5 days. I think he would have stayed in it for good if Mum didn't make him take a shower. Roderick used to only sleep in his bed or on the couch, but once he had his body blankie, he pretty much dozed off whenever the mood struck him. Mum and Dad put up with it for a little while, but me and Roderick probably took it too far and our body blankies mysteriously disappeared soon after that. When I found my body blankie this weekend, I didn't know what to do. If I started parading around the house in it, Mum would know I've been poking around in her closet. The only place I could really wear it was in bed, but that seemed to kind of defeat the purpose. But this morning, when I was getting ready for school, I got an idea. I realised if I put my body blankie on under my school clothes, no one would even know, and being in class would be like being in bed. But I wish I'd thought it through a little better. The body blankie might be comfortable to wear while watching TV at home, but walking to school in it was a whole other matter. The leggings of the body blankie are really short, so you look like a penguin when you walk. I couldn't open my locker with the mittens, and trying to do jumping jacks in phys ed was hopeless. Plus, I found out the disadvantage of flannel is that it gets really hot. After phys ed, the body blankie footies were filled with sweat, and I knew it was time to bail on the idea. But when I tried to take the body blankie off, the zipper snapped. I should have known never to trust a product that's advertised on TV. I tried to wriggle out of it by pushing my arms up through the hole where my head was, but I couldn't get my elbows out. I started to go into a panic because there was no ventilation in that thing, and I was worried I was going to get baked alive like a microwave burrito. After a minute, I took a lot of deep breaths to calm myself down. At that point, there were only a few more classes to go, and then I could cut myself free at home. My last class was social studies, and we had a test. I wasn't prepared at all, so I was glad when I found out it was true-false. Because that's exactly the kind of thing the magic ball is good at. When the test started, I pulled the magic 8-ball out of my bag and went through the questions one by one. A few of the answers didn't look right to me, but the magic 8-ball had got me this far, and I wasn't going to start questioning it now. It was still pretty time consuming though. Kids were handing in their test and I wasn't even halfway through yet. I started getting nervous that I wasn't going to finish before the bell rang and the magic 8-ball was doing some serious stalling. I shook it faster to try to get real answers, and that's when I lost a handle on it. The magic 8-ball hit the ground hard, and before I could grab it, it rolled right to Mrs. Merritt. Just when the bell rang, and after the class let out, Mrs. Merritt took me down to Vice Principal Roy's office. Mrs. Merritt told him she'd caught me red-handed using a high-tech cheating device on my test. I think Vice Principal Roy was a little confused, but he took Mrs. Merritt's complaint seriously anyway. He called Mum, and 10 minutes later, she was in his office. Of got to give Mum credit because she stuck up for me. She said the Magic 8 Ball was just a harmless toy and that I couldn't have been using it to cheat. I wanted to interrupt Mum and tell her not to disrespect the Magic 8 Ball by calling it a toy, but I figured that could wait until later. Plus, Mum hadn't said anything about the body blankie yet, and I didn't want to risk making her mad. I thought Vice Principal Roy was going to let me off the hook, but then he pulled up my record on his computer. He said my grades have been going downhill lately and that I'm slipping in every subject. Then he said I haven't turned in a homework assignment for 3 weeks. Well, that might be true, but ever since Fregley ditched my textbooks, it's been a little hard for me to do my assignments. Then Vice Principal Roy totally dropped a bomb on me. He said that if I didn't improve my grades in the next few weeks, I was going to have to go to summer school. That got my attention. I've heard rumours about summer school, and it's not something I really want to be part of. For one thing, I know they shut off the air conditioning during the summer to save money. The classes are more like detention than school, and none of the regular teachers are there. In fact, I heard the English teacher for summer school is the janitor. I don't know if Vice Principal Roy was just trying to scare me, but if he was, it worked, because the thought of spending my summer vacation with Mr. Meeks is enough to turn me into a straight-A student. Thursday. I'm not really sure how my grades got so bad because my year actually started off pretty good. In the first quarter, I got A's and B's on my report card, and Mum even took me out to get a hot fudge sundae to celebrate my accomplishments. Roderick got in on the action too, even though his report card that quarter was lousy. That taught me that even if you try your best, someone's just going to mooch off your hard work. I know I'm not the best student or anything, but I've never had to worry about going to summer school. So this week I've been doing everything I can to get my situation under control. Mum got me a set of used textbooks, and I've been catching up on my assignments every night. But some of the classes I'm flunking don't even have homework. One is music, and my problem there is that I don't participate. None of the boys really do, which is why Mrs. Norton comes right up in our faces and tries to get us to sing. If Mr. Meeks is the English teacher in summer school, then I don't even want to imagine what music class looks like. I decided that starting today, I was going to be Mrs. Norton's best student. So when she called my name at the start of class, I stood right up and bowed out the song we've been working on. Mrs. Norton waited until I was finished. Then she said she wasn't asking me to sing, she was just calling attendance. All week, Mum's been helping me catch up on my missing homework assignments, but the one thing she says I'm going to have to do on my own is the science fair project. And that kind of stinks because science isn't exactly my strong suit. For last year's science fair, my experiment was on metamorphosis. I collected a dozen or so caterpillars and put them in a box with leaves to eat, and they all made cocoons. My plan was to open the box at the exact moment they turned into butterflies and blow the judges away. I worked hard on it and even turned in my project a day early, but I left the box with the caterpillars on the heater in the science classroom, and unfortunately, that was the end of that. Today during recess, I was in the library trying to get ideas for my science fair project, and Betsy Buckles came in to say they needed me in the yearbook office. She said the class favourites results were in, and she asked me to take pictures of the winners. I didn't bother to vote this year, so I wasn't even sure who was on the ballot, but once the winners started filing in through the door, it wasn't too hard to figure out who'd won what. So you got most likely to succeed, most athletic, most friendly, best smile. No. Most of the winners were exactly who you'd expect. Bryce Anderson won best hair, Cecilia Farrimer won most talented, and Jenna Stewart won best dressed. The only real surprise was Liam Nelson, who won best looking. But Liam works on the yearbook staff and was in charge of counting up the votes, so something tells me he fudged the results. When Fregley walked through the door, I got confused. The only category I could see him winning was class clown, but I'd just finished taking Jeffrey Lafferty's picture. So I looked over the list Betsy gave me and found out Fregley had been voted most popular. But the way things have been going lately, I guess I shouldn't have been surprised. I was already in a pretty bad mood when the last two people walked in the room to have their picture taken. I looked down at the printout, and when I scanned all the way to the bottom, I felt sick. Cutest couple, Rowley Jefferson and Abigail Brown. I've had to do some unpleasant things in my life, but believe me, nothing compares to what I had to suffer through today. After that, I officially resigned as yearbook photographer and turned in my camera, because really, there's only so much one person can take. Monday. Things have really fallen apart for me ever since I dropped my Magic 8 ball in Mrs. Merritt's class. After Vice Principal Roy gave it back to me, I noticed it seemed a lot lighter. It turned out when it hit the floor, it cracked and the blue liquid behind the little window leaked out. So that meant it was totally useless. I ended up tossing it over Grandma's fence on the way home from school that day, but lately I've missed having it because I've had some really tricky decisions to make. I finally caught up on my missing homework assignments, but my science fair project is due on Thursday and I still don't even have an idea for it yet. So I thought of Eric Glick. I've always heard he could hook you up with an old assignment if you're in a pinch, and I figured maybe he could even get his hands on a science fair project. But still, I didn't know if I wanted to get involved with a shady character like Eric. This was just the kind of decision I'd ordinarily leave up to the Magic 8 ball, but today I was totally on my own. I was pretty desperate though, so at recess I found Eric hanging out behind the school and told him about my situation. Eric said he could take care of me. He did some kind of secret knock on a door a few feet away that had no handle on it. Then the door opened from the inside. It took a minute for my eyes to adjust to the darkness. The room was apparently some kind of storage area and there were half a dozen kids crowded around a desk with a pile of papers on it. There were old book reports and history papers and a bunch of other stuff too. The person who seemed to be in charge was Dennis Dennard, who's in 8th grade but got held back twice. I'm guessing he stayed in middle school on purpose because he's got such a good racket going on. Eric told Dennis I needed a science fair project and he took me to a separate area in the back where there were shelves of old ones. As far as I could tell, the better of the project, the more it cost. One of the projects seemed kind of familiar, and when I took a closer look, I knew why. It was Roderick's science fair project from when he was in middle school. I remember Roderick working on that one. His idea was to see if different types of music have an effect on how fast flowers grow. So he put a potted flower in every place in the house where there was music. The flowers all died within 2 weeks and Roderick thought the music killed them, but Mum told him the reason the plants died was because he never watered them. I guess the school just dumps all the old science fair projects in the storage room whether they got a decent grade or not. I don't know if seeing Roderick's old project is what did it, but I started having second thoughts about this whole thing. I think Dennis and Eric could tell I was getting cold feet because they pressured me to make a decision. I told Dennis I didn't have any money on me and that I'd come back tomorrow. Eric told me to turn my pockets inside out to prove it, but I noticed the door to the outside was open a crack and I bolted. I'm not sure I'm ready to get involved with the Dennis Dennards and Eric Glicks of the world anyway, because once you take that first step, there's no turning back. Wednesday. Well, I didn't see this coming. 1 week after Rowley and Abigail got voted cutest couple, word on the playground is that they're through. I heard that Abigail's back with her old boyfriend Michael Sampson, and people are saying the only reason she got together with Rowley in the first place was to make Michael jealous. Apparently, it worked. But from what I heard, the way Rowley found out was kinda harsh. But I can't spend a lot of time feeling sorry for Rowley, because I've got problems of my own. Yesterday I had to stay after school for the second day in a row doing research for my science fair project, which is due tomorrow. And by the way, I'm glad I decided not to go the Dennis Denard route, because today somebody tipped off a teacher and a bunch of the faculty members staged a raid on the storage room. The kids who got caught were given detention for the rest of the year, and I'm sure the punishment includes an automatic trip to summer school. I've still got a chance to get out of summer school, and I really hope I do, because I don't want to be staring at Dennis Denard's sweaty back for the rest of the summer. Thursday, I worked on my science fair project yesterday from the time I got home until 11:30 at night. I wouldn't say my project is going to win the Nobel Prize or anything, but I was proud of myself for actually getting it done. I think Mum was pretty happy too, but after I was finished, she went over the requirements that Mrs. Abington sent home, and it said in big bold letters that the written report had to be typed. Mum said there was no use complaining and that I needed to get started on typing up the report, but I'd already spent all my energy getting to that point. So I told Mum I was going to go to sleep and wake up extra early to get the work done. I set my alarm for 6, but when I woke up this morning it was 8:10. I totally freaked out because I didn't remember hitting the snooze bar even once. I knew I was in trouble because I had to leave for school in 20 minutes and there was no way I could type it up before then. But when I went downstairs, my science fair project was sitting on the kitchen table and the whole thing was typed. For a second I thought maybe the science report fairy had come in overnight and sprinkled some pixie dust on the pages, but then I realised it was Mum. I went up to her room to thank her, but she was out cold. I handed in my science fair project during second period and I felt like a huge weight had been lifted off my shoulders. For the rest of the day I actually enjoyed myself at school. Rowley, on the other hand, was not doing so good. At recess he just wandered around with a dazed look on his face, and once or twice I saw him near the Find a Friend station. I thought about going over and talking to him, but Mr. Nern beat me to it. The more I thought about it, the more I realised me and Rowley are probably better off not being friends anyway. We've been going back and forth for so long that enough is enough already. But seeing Rowley play checkers on the bench with Mr. Nern made me feel really guilty. I couldn't decide what to do about Rowley, so I went to the one place where I knew I could get an answer. On the way home from school, I stopped by Grandma's house to see if I could find the magic 8-ball in her backyard. I knew it was broken, but I thought somehow I could get one more good answer out of it. It took a long time, but I finally found it near the woodpile. I was ready to concentrate real hard and ask my question, but that's when I noticed something green and shiny poking out from under a log. I forgot all about the magic 8-ball and went for the plastic egg. I gave a little shake, and when I heard the sound it made, I knew exactly what was inside. I couldn't believe the magic 8-ball had led me directly to Meemaw's diamond ring. It probably figured it owed me one for everything that's happened recently. Once I knew I had Meemaw's ring, a million thoughts went through my head, and most of them involved a jetpack. But I remembered what Mum said would happen if someone actually found the ring, and even though I could probably sell it for good money, it's not worth breaking up the family over it. So I took the egg and hid it where nobody will find it, or at least not for a while. But if I'm ever hard up for cash, I know I can always go to the spot between tickles 4 and 5 to get out of a jam. Monday. The magic 8-ball might be good for helping out with the little decisions, but I figure the big ones are up to me. So at lunch today, I went to the back of the line where Rowley was sitting and asked him if he wanted to come sit with me. And 5 seconds later, it's just like old times. I know Mum's always saying friends come and go and family is forever, and maybe that's true. But your family isn't going to be there when Meckley Mingo chases you with his belt on your way home from school. I'm sure me and Rowley will get in another fight somewhere down the road and then we'll go through this drama all over again, but for now, we're good. Or at least until the yearbook comes out, but I figure we can always deal with that later on. Alright, and that is actually the end of the Diary of a Wimpy Kid book, Hard Luck. I hope you enjoyed the story and the video. Until next time, see you then.